My name is Debbie Drennan, and I'm actually here today with Janet Nunez. It says Jan Tuber and a couple of other slides, but it's really Janet. She's my sidekick today. And she'll be popping in periodically with questions from our AT mailbag. When you hear that tone, you know that it's a real question from real parents and professionals. Now, if you have additional questions that you would like to ask, please raise your hand, and we will go ahead and put the question in the chat window, and we will go ahead and answer that question as soon as we can get to it. We try to be pretty good about that. So for those who are not familiar with who we are, we've done multiple trainings with the AT Network. We are Parents Helping Parents, and we work in the iTECH Center, part of that agency. So we do a lot of trainings. Our signature service is the Techsploration, where we have a client come in with as many members of their team as can come, and we can explore technology in their particular goal areas. And for that, we are vendorized with a regional center for those who are aged 0 to 3 or 22 and above. And we also have a contract with the Department of Rehab. We do consultations with different teams on assistive technology needs. We provide information, referral over the phone and on the email. We do have a speech therapist that works with us who has AAC expertise, and we're very fortunate to have her. And we are, of course, a member of the AT Network of California. So what are we doing today? First, we're going to kind of go through why do we want to use assistive technology. Our focus population is going to be adults with cognitive disabilities. And so we're first going to look at why would you want to use assistive technology for that population. And then we're going to cover several different areas for them, scheduling, communication, cooking, accessibility, and of course, fun. So quick review for all of you. What is assistive technology? It is a device, any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially off the shelf, modified, or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of an individual with a disability. Notice in the law there is no age discrimination. It is for all ages, all abilities, and all needs. And it is also a service, which is any service that directly assists an individual with a disability in the selection, acquisition, or use of an assistive technology device. So that was a quick overview of the law because most of you already are fairly familiar with that. So now, why should we use assistive technology for persons with cognitive impairments? Well, when you have a cognitive impairment, you tend to struggle in several areas. One of them might be memory. You may not remember the tasks of the day, of the week, or even how to do the tasks, the breakdown of the task. You may struggle with perception, whether it be a visual. You may not see things in the right way, or things don't make sense visually to you, or auditorily. You may hear something and you need more time to process what has been said or had you have heard. You may struggle in social areas. You may not be able to read body language well, the nonverbals, or even understand different social interactions and what that can mean. And of course, you might struggle with executive functioning. That whole organization piece may be just a real struggle for you. Well, in all of these different areas, assistive technology can help. In terms of memory, you can have schedulers, you can have calendars with auditory prompting and reminding. In terms of perception for visual, you can have on-screen reading tools, you can have visual schedules set up. For auditory, you can have hearing aids or allow extra time to process what you've heard. In the social area, there's social stories and portable reward systems that you can have available. And for executive functioning, of course, you can think of step-by-step instructions. So as you can see, there's just a lot of tools that can really help an individual in these different areas. And we're going to touch on some of the different available tools that are free, because this is all about free today, in those areas. So let's first talk about the visual aids in assistive technology. There's so much a visual aid can do for an individual with a cognitive impairment. It can assist the individual to attend to the information you're trying to give them so that they can focus. They have more than one way of focusing to that information, not just orally but visually as well, to help them retain that information. It also can provide organization and structure for individuals so that they can know what's coming, they know what they've done, and it gives them that structure that can be so critical in their day. It can also clarify the expectations and the information so that they know exactly what they are supposed to be doing without any unwritten rules available. So that, because the unwritten rules tend to be what they miss completely. It can assist an individual with making choices in their day and decrease the reliance on others and therefore increase their independence. Now, just a quick show of hands. How many of you participating today use a calendar in your daily life? Just a regular calendar? Yeah, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, just 3 of you? Oh, I thought there might be a few more. Come on, be honest now. We all know you do. Come on. Thank you. Yeah, okay, you get the idea. Most of you do use a calendar in your daily life, right? Thank you. So why should we not allow our individuals who have cognitive impairments or adults also to have some sort of a calendar? But for them, they would need a calendar that would provide that visual support as well, so they really understand what's coming. It can provide a visual sequencing of tasks. You can have visual calendars. You can have a visual schedule. Or you can even provide a visual notification of a transition coming up in their day. And there's ways of doing that, like there's the time timer, which is a very common tool, which can be worn as a watch, put on a desktop, put on your computer. There's also hourglass, a simple kitchen hourglass you can buy, and you turn it over and say, okay, in 1 minute we're going to move from this task on to the next task. So they can see that visual notification of change. So let's look at some free tools, because this again is all about free today, to help individuals with scheduling. You can first of all create a schedule board with pictures which depicts either the day, what's happening in their day, a week, or a month, depending on what they need. There's several free ways of doing this. You can use photographs downloaded from Google or from your personal camera. You just take a picture, download it, print it out, put it on in order on a calendar, and so they can see visually what's coming up next. You can use a free symbol system set if they're into symbols, and there's some free downloadable symbol system sets available. One is at imaginesymbols.com. And another one that is coming up is, and it's not listed, so this is a freebie, so it's going to actually be 51 tools you get today, is straightstreet.com, and it's straight, S-T-R-A-I-G-H-T dash street, S-T-R-E-E-T.com. And they just came out with their next version of their symbols, and there's 2,500 free mulberry symbols that you can download, have available, and use. You can use QuickPicks, which is another free tool you can use from patrickecker.org. You can also use, there's also schedules that you can use with text. And if you go to the do2learn.com website, there's some that you can just download and modify for yourself and for your individual you're assisting. There's also a really, really cool website that helps you create a visual timetable, complete with clocks and the digital time on them. So not only do they get that visual schedule, but they also are working on learning their time, how to tell time, both digitally and analog. And that's on Help Kids Learn, and it's a digital timetable. And you can import your own pictures, your own photographs into it once you've downloaded it, so that you can really personalize it for that student, which is great. So, how can you do this? Well, some different ways of doing one is, of course, you can buy one. Like there's the Go board, which is from enablingdevices.com. But this is about free today. So do it yourself. Make your own schedule board. And you can see on the right side of the screen there is a big, large construction paper with Velcro on it in the order for Joe. And there's pictures on it laminated that he can just joke and look at, pull down, and when he's finished a task, he can put it in the finished envelope at the bottom. So his day is scheduled out for him. Now, the other thing you can do with schedule boards is these strip-style schedule boards are actually very useful also in breaking down specific tasks, not just the whole day, but a task within the day. So you can do both. You can have a large visual schedule for the day, and then you can have a small strip-style schedule for an individual task within that day. So some ways of doing that for free, ideas are using a file folder. Just take your common office supplied file folder that you have laying around the house or in your file cabinet that you're not using, Velcro, pictures depicting the tasks or the breakdown of the task, depending on what you're using it for, and have that available at their desk or in their backpack if they're in the community. You can also do it with a vertical icon. You can have it vertically or on the file folder. The vertical icon is just a piece of old material that you may have laying around, again with the Velcro. Gotta love Velcro, huh? But there's other things you can use. You can use magnet paper. You can buy that at an office supply store. It goes through your printer. So now you can put the schedule or a breakdown of a task on a refrigerator or on a metal cookie sheet if you have those more readily available. You can do an object schedule. So if you're working with an individual who doesn't understand the relationship between a picture and the object, but if you give them the object, they understand that, well, then you can actually put small objects that you would find at a toy store or around your house, or maybe like if you're representing rice, you have a grain of rice or a part of the package on it, and have that down. Instead of an actual picture, you have the object. Or you can use a magnetic whiteboard, and you can write the schedule if you have early literacy, as well as have the visual component. So they're getting that literacy as well as the picture. So you can see there's a lot of different ways that you can do these visual schedules. Oh, there's the mailbag.
Good morning, Deb.
Oh, it's Janet. Hello, how are you?
I'm great. You're right. It is time for a question from our AT mailbag.
Oh, okay.
And this question is from Lucy from Sacramento. And she writes, my young adult son with autism has high anxiety and on occasion exhibits aggressive behavior. What kind of visual supports can I use to help him calm down and behave appropriately? It's getting to the point where I'm afraid to take him out in public. Please help.
Oh dear. Well, that is actually a fairly common problem. When that anxiety kicks in, it's hard to get them orally. You can tell them to calm down, breathe deep, and they're not hearing you because their anxiety level is too high. But there are visual aids you can use to help with those behavior challenges. There's a really nice one on the left side of your screen called Steps to Calming Down. And so this is a visual tool that you can download for free from setbc.org. So you can download that for free from that site. It's called Steps to Calming Down. And that way, instead of talking to someone who's in a high anxiety state, you can show them the different steps they can use to calm down. And the wonderful thing about a visual Steps to Calming Down is it's consistent across providers. So even if you, Lucy, aren't there to do it, the attendant or the care provider is there and they're doing the exact same steps you would do, and that's called Steps to Calming Down. You can also use the International No symbol as a visual aid, so that if there is something you don't want them to touch or to grab or to pull down, you can have the picture of that and put that International No symbol across that picture. So they know that they cannot touch or do that particular thing. The other thing you can do is there are free social stories available where you can prepare that individual for that social situation at slatersoftware.com. Now, some of you may be wondering, what the heck is a social story? A social story is a story where you can prepare an individual by writing out a story that you read to them and go over them before they get into a situation. For example, and it would tell them all the behaviors you expect them to have in that situation. So let's say you have an individual who is very nervous in a car and is always trying to open the door to get out the door because it makes them nervous to be in the car, and so they're very dangerous in the car. So your social story would be, when I get in the car, I will be calm. I will sit quietly in my seat. I will put my seatbelt on. The seatbelt will stay on until the car has stopped and the engine is off. I will put my hands in my lap. I will stay calm in the car until the engine is turned off. Notice how there's no no's or I won't in that story, because you're telling them in a social story the expected behaviors. And you don't say, and I will not open the door and go out, because that puts that idea in their head. You're giving them the expected behaviors, not the behaviors you're trying to get rid of. Another place to look for more information is visualaidsforlearning.com. So it looks like you're getting even more than 51 freebies here. Now there's a few more we threw in there. So the site, again, for downloading the steps to calming down, Katie, because you had asked, is setbc.org. That's setbc.org. Okay? No problem. Happy to do it. So, is there any questions, any additional questions at this point in terms of visual aids for scheduling behavior that are free? At this time, raise your hand if there are. Terrific. So we'll go ahead and move on now into the next area, which is communication. A lot of times, there are individuals who have voice output devices. But for whatever reason, those voice output devices, either they're too big and bulky, they just don't get out into the community as much as they should, for whatever reason. Or maybe they don't ever even have a voice output. Maybe they can communicate and are understood by familiar listeners, but to an unfamiliar listener they're not understood, but they don't have any sort of voice output device. So what can you do in that instance to provide a free, again it's about free today, tool for communication? Well, one thing you can do is create a communication book. Remember these back in the day? When I started this is what everyone seemed to have, is a book for communication. And what it is, it's a book that you create filled with photographs and pictures that the client then uses to communicate with. And there's lots of different ways of creating those books. There's a place that has pre-made pages at speakingofspeech.com in their materials exchange list on the right-hand side. And there's just a bunch of different kinds of communication, pre-made ones already available you can just download and use if that's what works for you. You can create your own, of course, using your own pictures and text and using some of the same websites we've already talked about. Also, at a place called deafblindonline.co.uk, they have a great symbol set maker as well as a grid maker to make those books, and other great resources for making these low-tech tools for communication. The other thing to do is a lot of times individuals maybe need multimodal communication, not just the visual, not just the auditory, but also maybe sign language. So now you're working in a program with a lot of different individuals, and how do you teach all of those people in your program some basic sign language to work with their clients with? Well, there's a couple of free great websites to check out. Of course, on YouTube, under Expert Village or UCF Alum, there is some sign language tutorials that are video as well as auditory. And also ASLpro.com is also a great video dictionary of signs. And my personal philosophy is you need to have a video to teach sign language, not just a picture, because there's movement in sign language as well as the static, and you need both to communicate appropriately. So you can make your own books. We kind of talked about that already. And on the left side, you'll see someone just took a binder and used different file tabs in that binder and labeled each file tab and put picture pages in them. There you go. Simple communication book. Oh, there's the mailbag again.
You're right, Deb. The mail's in. And here's another good question from Ricky, who hails from San Jose. And he asks, I work as an aide in a community-based adult day program. Many of my clients are nonverbal or unintelligible. I am looking for something my clients can use out in the community to help them express their needs. It would need to be very simple and portable. Thanks.
Sure. So it looks like Ricky needs to take the idea of a communication board or a book and make it simple and portable for his clients out in the community as they're on the buses and in the different areas they go to. Well, there's different things you can do. You can create your own portable communication tools. You can take the little books and put it on a keychain so they can wear it with them on their keys. You can take those lanyards that you get all over the place from different shows you may go to and different events. They give you a lanyard with your name. We'll take the name out and put in some picture communication symbols. And now you have something they can wear around their neck. You can also loop things on their belt with Velcro. So they have little symbols available that they can pull out that's right there on their belt or on their bracelet. You know those jelly bracelets they have? You can attach little symbols to the jelly bracelets that they like to wear those, and now they have a little portable jelly bracelet communication device. You can also get, those wallet inserts for photographs. You can get a wallet insert and put communication pictures in them. So there's a lot of different simple things you can do for out in the community that is very simple and very portable. So does anyone have any questions about any of those ideas and thoughts? All right, we'll move on. Thank you. The next area we're going to look at is tools for cooking. Now, for an individual, being able to prepare a simple snack or a simple meal is so important to their sense of self-worth, independence as an adult. So I think everyone should have experience in the kitchen. Everyone. Personal feeling. So now there's different things you can do to make life easier. Oftentimes individuals with cognitive impairments don't understand 1/4 from 1/2 to 1/8, or they can't see those little numbers. They're too little on the end of the cups or the measuring spoons. So you can buy color-coded measuring cups and spoons from LSS products, or many kitchen stores carry them now, where these different colors represent different measurements. Or you can take your set that you may have already lying around at home and put red tape around the 1/4 cup and blue tape around the 1/2 cup and yellow tape around the 1/8 cup or the 1/8 teaspoon measuring spoon. And now, instead of having them have to read what measurement goes into what, they just need to know the red. I need this much red flour. I need this, blue red flour. I need yellow vanilla icing, whatever it is that they're creating. So now they just need to know the color to reach for as opposed to the measurement. So that makes that easier for them. Another thing you can do is you can also do raised color dots for temperatures on the oven dial. You can get them at Maxi Aids. They're relatively inexpensive. But since this whole thing is about free, you can use a colored Sharpie to put glue dots. And then glue dots on top of them to get that simple raised thing. Now if you have a digital oven control, you just have them match the numbers that you write out large on a 3x5 card. So if it says 350, you write that big and say, okay, match this number. And then they push it until it hits 350 and they've matched the numbers. Oh, mailbag.
It's that time again, Deb. This time we have a question from Fred. Dear AT Mailbag, my 80-year-old mother is becoming more and more confused, especially when cooking. This has resulted in some very interesting dishes,
oh dear,
especially when she replaces sugar with flour.
Oh dear.
How can I help her remember the steps and ingredients to her favorite recipes so she can continue to do what she loves independently and so that we can continue to enjoy her tasty treats? Any advice you have would be greatly appreciated. Signed, Famished in Fresno.
I'm sorry, Famished.
Famished Fred in Fresno.
Poor Famished Fred. Well, that's actually a very common problem, is forgetting steps within. I remember one instance I was working with somebody and they forgot to put the flour in the brownie mix. So we ended up with brownie soup. It tasted good, but it was certainly not combined in any way, shape, to look like brownie mix. So yes, how do we make that easier? Sorry, went the wrong way. So some different things you can do is create a picture directions cookbook where you have the pictures available for them to see what the next steps are. So you can purchase these. They have some great ones at attainmentcompany.com that you can purchase. The Look and Cook Microwave, the Look and Cook Cookbook, where they break down the recipe visually, so you have those visual prompts to help them remember each step. But wait, this is about a free webinar. So let's look at some free recipes for non-readers. There's a great website called Recipes for Non-Readers at kidscookingactivities.com, and they have visually pictured recipes so they can see what's next visually to help them remember each step. You can also, there's also a site called visualrecipes.com that has recipes with photographs next to them. Now, these recipes are not step-by-step, but it can be a good place to go for someone who needs some visual prompting, but not all visual prompting. So it's something to take a look at. There's also, for those who need a video instruction, there's step-by-step video instructions on everything to do with cooking at www.startcooking.com, including what does boiling water look like? How do you know when it's boiling? So really, really helpful, because some people need that reminder. Because if you say boil water and they go, what does that mean? I don't know. Well, now I can see what it looks like, so I'll know if my water is matching what boiling water is. You can also make your own recipes using different symbols, and if you go to the boardmakersharewebsite.com under Life Skills, you can find some recipes already pre-created using those board maker symbols. You can also use an actual object. So if you have someone who maybe the symbols aren't enough and they need the actual object, you can put, for pudding mix, you can have a little pudding box or a cutout of a pudding box. And you can have for the milk a little bit of cutout of milk carton, so they can see what the object is they're reaching for versus just a picture, if that's, again, where they are at. There's also a really great website called the Goodwill Learning website, and it's www.gfc.learnfree.org, blah blah blah, lots of dots on that one. And this whole website I really like for many different things, but they also have quizzes on how to bake, how to measure, all of those different things that have to do with cooking. They also have many, many other really great free tools available for individuals with cognitive impairment, so I really recommend you take a look at this particular website. I really, really like it. So are there any questions about cooking at this time? Again, everything I said was free. All right, we're going to move on.
Oh, well, in that case, I think it's time for a question from our AT mailbag. The mail just keeps rolling in, and this one is from Ethel, all the way from Eureka. She writes, "Hello, AT Mailbag. I am the director of an adult day program, and we have several computers available for our clients to use. My clients have a range of issues, including physical and vision issues. As you probably know, my financial resources are very limited. What free online tools are available to help them access the computer?"
Ah, yes. This is a big question. Computers really are everywhere in our society today. You can get them in the libraries. Many of the adult day programs have computers on site. Work sites have computers. So how do we make those computers accessible to the clients that we're serving, to the individuals we're serving? There are a lot of different tools available to help individuals access a computer in non-traditional methods. So if you have someone who cannot use a standard keyboard, maybe they can use an on-screen keyboard. And this can be good not only for somebody with maybe a physical impairment, but a lot of people have that visual focusing issue. They can't go back and forth between looking down at the keyboard and looking up at the screen. So if you have the on-screen keyboard on the screen, their eyes aren't traveling as far as they're typing into the computer. And sometimes that can be a real help for them as well, with those people with visual processing issues as well. So there's quite a few free on-screen keyboards available. One that's nice is called Click and Type. It's from lakefolks.org. And what I like about Click and Type Keyboard is you can make it as big as you want it to be on the screen or as small. You can it has scanning built into it, so if you have someone who is using a switch, they can use this keyboard and use their switch to scan through the keyboard. And it also has limited word prediction that comes with it available as well to increase the speed of typing. Another one that's kind of different is called the Dynamic Keyboard, and it's from palbrowser.com. And this keyboard is set up on top of your screen in a half circle format. So you pick each letter in a circle, which is really kind of a different way of doing it, but for some individuals that may be the right way for them. Also, on the OatSoft website, there is an on-screen keyboard they have, which also has word prediction available, which is better word prediction than the Click and Type word prediction. And again, these are all free and available to try out to see if they work for you. So speaking of the OatSoft website, there are some other great accessibility tools that are free to download and try from their website. So I really recommend you take a look at that as well. One nice program is the Joystick to Mouse. And this is for individuals who maybe can't use a standard mouse, but can use a joystick. So maybe with this program they can use a joystick, a common joystick, to control their mouse and their keyboard. So if you have a gaming joystick that plugs into the computer, you can now turn that joystick into a mouse emulator and have it use their mouse and keyboard. They also have iZoom, which is a screen magnifier and a reader. And it magnifies the screen 1.5 up to 16 times, which is very large, and it reads it out loud to you at the same time. So that can be of real benefit for those individuals who need larger print and having it read out loud to keep their focus on the screen. They also have a tool called Power Reader, which is a dyslexic text reader and learning tool for those whose switch letters have dyslexia. And also, not on the OatSoft website, but sort of related, there's Natural Readers. Natural Readers is a great text-to-speech freebie. So you can just download it and use it to have the text read out loud to you from the computer. So in terms of text-to-speak, there's other options that are free as well. Because this is a really powerful tool for maybe an individual who reads at a first grade or second grade level, but they want to interact more on the internet, to go to YouTube and to go to those fun sites that they like to do. So maybe you want to look at something like WordTalk. This is only for Microsoft Word, but it's free. You can download it and put it into your Microsoft Word, and now you can have it work as a talking word processor. So they can create their materials or have a Word document read out loud to them on the computer. There's also PowerTalk, which is a similar thing but for PowerPoint that you can download. And with PowerTalk in a PowerPoint, remember PowerPoints are not just for presentations like this, but you can also use PowerPoints to create a social story, your own social story that can be read out loud to the individual to help them learn how to be in a new social situation appropriately. So you don't have to sit there and read it out loud to them. They can use PowerTalk on a PowerPoint you've created to review so that they are comfortable with it. So some ideas about PowerPoint. There's a lot you can do with PowerPoint. And of course, never forget the built-in accessibility options in your current operating systems. If you want to see what's built into Windows World, each new version of Windows, Windows 7, Vista, XP, has different accessibility options available to them. So if you're not sure what accessibility options you have, go to the Microsoft.com website under Enable. Find your version of Windows that you're using on your computer and find out what's built in and use them. Sometimes there's some really nice stuff, especially in Windows 7. They've really upped the ante. In the Mac world, you can do the same thing at apple.com/accessibility if you're using a Mac computer to see what's already built into your Mac computers. There's a lot of stuff in there. A lot of people just don't know. Oh, mailbag!
Hi, Deb. Yes, it seems we're not quite finished. There's actually more to Ethel's letter.
Oh, okay.
She writes, in addition, many of my clients with learning disabilities are interested in keeping current with news events, but I'm having a hard time finding materials that are age appropriate. yet written at a lower level that they can understand. Any suggestions? Thanks in advance for all your help.
So now we're looking at some low-level but high-interest reading materials, focusing on current events. Well, there's a lot of different things you can do. One thing I want to mention is, now this is a paid thing. It's called News2U, News -2-U. And that is a weekly internet paper that comes, actually it's monthly, I'm sorry. It's a monthly paper that comes out regarding current events, and it's written at several different levels. And it is a paid subscription, but if you keep your eye on them, they do come out with free ones. This summer they had, the summer was free. June, July, August, I had free symbol assisted internet newspapers available. In December they had a free one that I was able to download and have available as well. So they do have free ones at News2U, so take a look at that one and look for the freebies that they offer. But you want another free one is Symbol World. Now this is a weekly internet paper written using symbols to support the text. And that's at symbolworld.org. Now what you need to be aware of at symbolworld.org is it is UK based. So a lot of times they'll be talking about high interest things that are going on in England, in Scotland, in Ireland. So be aware, but it could be interesting to kind of talk about what's happening in other parts of the world as well. Another place to look at is the National Geographic Kids blog. And on this blog, they have a current event that they talk about every few days, 2 to 3 days, and it comes with a picture for interest, and it's 1 to 2 paragraphs of text. And what's nice about that is it's current, more current. It has the picture to support the text, and it's high interest. And then another one to look at is Scholastic, which is news that is more interested to people at a more childlike interest level. But it is also written at that lower reading level, which might be perfect for some individuals. So take a look at that, and that's the teacher.scholastics.com website. So there are some places to go and get some accessible, current event type materials. Anyone have any questions about any of those? Okay. Oh, another mailbag. What do you know?
Well, Deb, this is the last question from our mailbag. It comes from Mr. Bob Alou. That's Bob Alou from Santa Cruz. He's a recreation director at a YMCA. He writes, "Hello. I run an inclusive recreation program for adults of all abilities. Can you point me in the right direction to find some accessible recreational activities? We're looking to have fun."
And I did promise that I would talk about having fun, because that is important as well. It's not all about learning and doing, it's also about having fun. So let's go back to the internet first of all, and let's look at what's out there on the internet for fun. There is a great website for those who are Switch users, and it's basically Switch accessible games for older kids, because I'm sorry, some of these shoot 'em ups, even though adults play them, to me they're kids. And it's oneswitch.org.uk, and if you go to their gaming link. These games are the shoot 'em ups, the blast 'ems, the football, the hockey. To me they're guy games, but you know, that's personal, I understand. But it's a great website to check out and see what's out there, and it is indeed for the older individual. There's also a great website called Jambav, JAMBAV.com. And on this website, it's for non-readers. And what it is when you first go to the website, you're going to see something that looks like a TV remote control. And you push the forward arrow, and you get a different picture showing on the screen, and you pick the one that you want to do. So you don't have to be able to read it, you just look at the picture. So there's no reading involved. And some of these games are even educational. Shh, don't tell anyone, like how to cross a street appropriately, that kind of thing, which is great. Another place to go is the CanDoStreet.com. And this is a great gaming area that is educational, and it looks at life skills, which is huge. So it really goes through some of those different life skills in a fun and educational game-like way for our adults. And again, these are all free to take a look at. If you just look at some games in general, like solitaire, bingo, whatever, There's pogo.com, and those are great fun to play with. And one final place on the internet that is worth it looking at is at deeplistening.org. They have something called AUMI software. So let's say you have an individual who is not able to play an instrument but really, really wants to be involved in musicality. AUMI stands for Adaptive Youth Musical Instruments. And what it is, it's software you can download to your computer, and then it sets up your computer screen into 4 different quadrants that you can change the size and location of. And each quadrant represents a different tone. So now they can use their mouse emulator, a touch screen to play music. And they actually have on their website a band they created, and you can hear the music they've created in this band. And the individuals are using switches and mouse emulators and touch screens to create the music. It's really quite powerful. So it's a lot of fun to play with.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. But now we're off the internet. So how do I make anything accessible that's a board game or a puzzle for my individuals? It's very frustrating for individuals who have maybe a tremor or don't have a good grasp to play some board games because they're knocking pieces all over the place, and it's just frustration. So how can we make that easier? One thing you can do is add cabinet knobs to wooden puzzles or glue on different textures so they have something they can grasp easier and touch that's better for them, so that maybe they can then participate more in doing those games and activities. You can also use alternative dice and spinners. So instead of having to roll the dice or spin the spinner with their finger, if you go online at nanogames.com, they have alternative dice where you just push on the mouse and the dice roll on the computer, and then you've done your roll of the dice. So it takes that out of it completely. Another thing you can do is place board games on magnetic whiteboard with magnetic tape on the bottom of the game pieces to keep them on, or use Velcro on board and board pieces. So here's some visuals of different kinds of board games that people have done, just so you get a sense of how you can make things accessible. Now we have a question of, know of a program that can slow down the pace of commercial video games with Xbox. There is no particular program that I'm aware of. However, there is a website that's, oh boy, now you're going to make me think. Accessible Gaming, I don't know if it's a .com or .org. Oh, stop. It's Accessible Gaming. It's either .com or .org. And if you look on that website, what they do is the gentleman there creates a lot of different tools for the Xbox and the different video games to make it more accessible for individuals with physical disabilities. But he also rates the games that are available on their accessibility to individuals, and including the speed of the game. Because you're right, some of these video games that are commercially available are just too much input coming in too fast. So he addresses that as well when he does his video game reviews. So I may have the name wrong. So let me, I can give it to the AT Network and have them put down the exact one at the end of this, because I can't remember. That was a big question. Is there any other questions or comments that anyone has? Because I'm actually just about done. Oh, one more mailbag.
Well, of course, this is not a mailbag,
oh.
Just our last question of the day. And we know that you're always prepared, Deb, to answer this. Where can I get more information?
Yes. Where do you go? Where to go is, one place, of course, is the AT Network of California. And this is obviously I really am a proponent of it. Here I am talking again with them. And it's atnet.org, and it's a great resource for those who live within California for information. There's also the Alliance for Technology Access, and you can look at their website. They do have some information on how to adapt toys to a switch and those sorts of things, if that's something, not just toys, but battery-operated devices to a switch. So that, if that's of interest to you, you can check out ataccess.org. And another one is ICANN AT for All, and that's a really nice website as well to go to gather more information. And of course, you can always give us a call at the iTECH Center. We're here to help The toll-free number is free for anyone living within California, not outside of California though. So just give us a call and we'll see what we can do to gather the information. So any further questions? I know this one went fast for us. Amazing, we talked quickly.